no one had the schedule, so it's fine. And I don't know when we're live. I'm gonna go open my YouTube. If you guys want to look at the live chat, we are live. If you guys want to look at the live chat, just open YouTube on your phones. So hello everybody, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you for anyone who's watching it later. This is a special live stream. We have a new special guest today. First of all, we have Deathsmiles and Anthony that you all may know if you are regulars of the channel. And then we have Tom. Tom is Tomfoolery from Reddit. And he knows a whole lot about warrants in general and specifically hover warrants. He's actually deep into hover like us all here. And we have a big deep dive hover chat to get into. We have a lot of smart hover heads in the room here. And we're going to get into warrants and maybe we can just go into some other stuff because there's a lot going on with hover. I mean, our prices are crazy. Everyone's looking at hover now and what's the future, right? So we have a lot to dive into in this episode. Thank you for anyone tuning in. And we're going to go more over the warrants. I don't know if I'm going to read every chat this time, but if there's any interesting chats, any questions for Tom or any of us, I guess, we'll get into that as we go. So yeah, Tom, you want to say hello, introduce yourself maybe?
Hey guys, what's going on? Tom. Been deep in hover since I think I started accumulating last year, not quite as early as Deathsmiles, right? I don't have those 24 cent. Pretty jealous of. But you know, basically started kind of getting curious about warrants last year. I was heavy in qubits and Rigetti. I was about 6 months early on those. I don't know if you guys follow those, but they dipped to a good bit below $1 before they ripped 30, $40, whatever they are. And I was looking back in regret, as as you often do when you miss the bus, right? You get stopped out. And I'm putting in the ticker and I see tickers with W's next to them. What is that? So look at it and it's stock warrants expiration 2027, whatever. I'm like, oh, interesting. And they went from, I think Rigetti went from like 6 cents to $32 last week, and qubits actually went from 10 cent range to $40.
You know what? But
What are
let's get in
these?
maybe a little before numbers and stuff. Could you
Yeah,
explain to people like what even is a warrant actually? Let's start like pretty simple.
yeah. Sorry, I'll
No,
kind
no,
of
no,
take a
it's fine. It's
roundabout way
fine.
there. Yeah.
No,
So basically, it's
and Deathsmiles and Anthony, any questions you guys have, like let's just I don't know, Tom, go as you like, but
yeah,
if you need any guidance and questions, I'm just gonna like ask as a noob and someone who doesn't know,
yeah.
maybe
Yeah,
audience.
and I don't know a lot about warrants either. My first question off the top is what's the pros and cons between buying the warrant versus buying the stock? Pros and
Sure.
cons, execution of trading it eventually. Is there a date and all that like just basic stuff? I don't really know a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. So basically, I kind of started the same place, but it's a contract, right? It's similar to an option, but it's not an option. So you could think of it as 1/100th of a call option. More or less, they're used by companies, SPAC companies specifically, to raise funds. So you're basically buying this contract that says, hey, if the day ever comes where the price of the stock gets over $11.50, and that's within the time frame and the warrant. In Hover's case, it's January 9th, 2029. You can redeem this contract for either a share of stock or you can just sell the contract. There's a couple different ways to redeem that I can talk about. Basically, when Hover's trading at 50 cents, they have no value. There's very little volume, maybe a couple $1,000s a day. They're basically dead paper. They have extremely low Greeks, so the volatility is low, but the theta is extremely high. which is what makes them interesting. You know, when Hovr took that first breath up, right, it kind of breathed life into the contract. And now they actually have some type of reasonable value when, compared to the price of Hovr. And that's kind of where the benefit comes from. So these are typically largely bought by institutional investors. They like having the optionality that warrants provide. So, for example, they've got their core position, then like Brumder, right? He's got what is it like 2.7 million shares or 2.75 million shares, something like that.
Yep.
And he's got about just under 500,000 warrants, right? So that provides him the optionality. I forget the percentage he had. Was he close to being 10%?
Yeah, he'll just be under, if he exercises all the warrants, he'd be at like, 3.2 and change in shares. So yeah, he'd be like at 8 to 9% roughly.
Yeah, I was thinking that he might have done those just in case he wanted to be a 10% owner. It provides them like basically another 500,000 shares that he can acquire, by either paying 11.50 a share or doing what's called a cashless exercise. A cashless exercise is basically it's more dependent on the price of the stock. The higher the stock goes, the better it is for you. And it can only be done in specific situations, right? So one thing about warrants is there's a lot of catches. If the price goes above $18 for 20 out of 30 days, they can do what's called forcing redemption. Calling the warrants is another term you'll hear a lot too. So that's basically, hey, it goes for 20 days. Let's say it shoots up to $30. At the end of 20 days, they're going to put out a notice that says, hey, we're officially calling these warrants. You've got 30 days to go ahead and do that. So you have two options. You can either pay 11.50 a warrant and receive a share of stock, right? And your gain is going to be that arbitrage between 11.50 and whatever the stock. That's great if you have 11.50 a share, right? Or you can do what's called a cashless exercise. And the only time the cashless is available is after they call the warrants, right? You've got a 30-day window, call your broker and say, hey, I'd like to do a cashless exercise. And they give you a percentage of shares based on how many warrants you have. The reason that's beneficial is because one, it quite possibly helps you out tax, but resets your taxable. Usually not considered, you usually don't owe any taxes on that transaction. And number two, you basically get a large amount of shares in exchange for a pretty small amount of capital you invested initially, right? Let's say you bought 100,000 warrants. That stock price goes up to $30 or so, $25. You'll get anywhere between 50 to 70% shares in return for that. You can take a relatively small amount of capital and turn it into, like a 50 to 70,000 share position, for no additional cost. It's pretty wild.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like the main benefit. And kind of the reason why I was going down the Rigetti and Qubits line was they had a similar warrant structure. Both Rigetti did. Qubits was totally different. You got 3 shares for every warrant, which is insane. People made generational wealth off of Qubits warrants.
Mm.
Does every company issue warrants, or is that like just
No, it's something that's kind of like they can do it for a variety of reasons. It's not an uncommon financial product, but it is uncommon to retail investors. Right? It's not available on Robinhood. You got to go through brokers. They're liquid, right? Like, it's just not something that's typically appealing to the general public.
why
It's
do you think
appealing.
Why do you think Hovr did it?
It's a SPAC warrant. It's the way they raise money. So they've got 12 million public warrants, and they've got a couple, different types of private placement warrants too that aren't available to the general public. The public warrants that they've got 12 million, 11.50 strike, and they get for everybody that does a cashless exercise, they receive that money. And that's kind of a big distinction between warrants and right? Options are between two people, you know, your buyers and sellers. Warrant is a contract between you and the company, and they use it to raise funds, so they can get potentially 1150 times 20.
I see. Okay. I don't honestly quite understand it all yet. And we're gonna
Sure.
dumb it down a bit. Yeah. And Anthony, if you have any questions. But
I did one.
I want to know, you were just saying I lost it. So what I like about it, it sounds like, okay, when you're doing options or even trading regular stock, for the most part, you're not actually giving money to the company. But here, a warrant, you're actually basically funding the company. So to someone who's, forget the fact that you can actually make money and upside and returns from this. For someone who's genuinely interested in helping a company, just like we spoke a little earlier about SCWO or whatever, like I'm passionate about that mission, right? As a lot of us here are passionate about the mission of eVTOLs, and we want to help Hover be the right eVTOL. This is a good way to actually help them get funding to help with their runway, let's say, whereas buying the stock doesn't necessarily help with their runway. Am I wrong?
No, that's absolutely correct. It's something that allows you optionality in the company's future. It both benefits them at the same time. So they're either getting like, I think the total warrant, if everybody does a cash exercise, they get like $138 million. That won't be the case. There'll be a fair amount that choose cashless. Like,
Yeah, of course. But
but the
that makes
benefit,
sense. So it
yeah,
actually benefits them. That's really cool. I didn't know that.
yeah.
That is a
And
cool product.
the reason cashless benefits them is because there's less dilution. You know what I mean? So warrants are inherently dilutive, right? It's part of
Oh,
the
are they?
fully diluted market cap, right? So it's not like a secret, but less shares will be put out into the market or given to the investors, right? So if half the people do a cashless exercise, right, then there's not 12 million shares that are part of the fully diluted market cap. There's 6 billion or there are however many that they choose to do. So there's kind of a dual benefit there. So they get money from the people that want to pay, and then they get less shares onto the market, which helps out, the gamma pressure of, pushing down on the stock.
So what do you mean they say what do you mean by less shares in the market? When you buy a warrant, is it an existing share or it's a new share being issued, hence it's a dilution event, right?
So it's dilutive to the float, right? Like the shares like on the market, because right now the warrants will only exist if the stock price goes above 1150. And from 1150 to $18, only if investors are paying 1150 to exercise them. So the only way that all 12 million of those shares are going to be eligible to be added to the fully diluted market cap is if they do a warrant call, because that's where the stock price goes above $18 for 20 out of 30 days, right? So functionally, right, how it works is you won't have 12 million shares hitting Hover. Right? There's going to be a significant amount of people that will use cashless, right? There's going to be institutions that are just going to go ahead and pay. So you're not going to have 12 million. It's going to be however many people, choose to do either option. Anybody's guess what that is. And then there's going to be a certain amount of warrants that people just aren't paying attention to that expire worthless because they didn't pay attention to the filings and the statements that they release. Like, hey guys, you got 30 days or these just get wiped out.
That makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
Anthony, did you have some questions?
Yeah, on my brokerage that I use, I can't get hover warrants, and I've heard of people buying them on Robinhood and these type of things. So if someone that's true, right? You can buy hover warrants on Robinhood and stuff like that, right?
I don't think Robinhood has them.
No, I tried.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So like these usual in the palm of my hand phones, you can't necessarily buy hover warrants, but maybe like if you're into like Charles Schwab or like one of these kind of things, maybe you could do it via the phone, something like that.
I'm
Absolutely. Yeah.
opening my Schwab right now to tell you.
Schwab and Fidelity, Webull, there's a lot of different brokers out there. I know some of them will make you opt into, the micro cap clauses that they have, liquid asset, because these are like, the market cap is far smaller than Hovers, right? Function, that's how it trades anyway.
Okay.
You'll see a large bid ask spread. It gets better as the price of the stock goes up because the warrants become more liquid, they're more highly traded, and they're easier to get in and out of.
So
Anthony,
if it gets to that point where you have to make the decision of what you want to do, if they say
Mhm.
within the 30 days you got to do this or whatever, is it like you have to call them up on the phone and tell them, or it's like an email, or how does a
Yeah.
person communicate? That's how it is.
I would make two calls, right? The first one would be the broker, right? To figure out, and you can even do this ahead of time, right? Hey, how do you guys handle this? How long does it take for the transaction to go through? Everybody's different, and everyone's got a fee associated with it.
Hmm.
Usually pretty nominal. It's not a fee that'll upset you at all. It's like a one-time fee, right? So let's say you're exercising 10,000 warrants. They're not charging you 10,000 times. It'll be a one-time fee, pretty much across the board from what I found.
well, I just opened my Schwab account. Maybe we can do a live trade. I deposited $1,000 a few days ago, and I thought it would be in October 16th. It said it was pending till, but
Mhm.
I have my $1,000. So maybe we could do this.
Sure.
Also, Hover is at 47 cents on warrants. I mean, the number just looks crazy attractive, and like I don't get it too much. I honestly still don't get it all. This was I'm gonna have to watch this on repeat on YouTube because live this is a little hard to understand. We're talking about a lot of different things and numbers. Anthony, do you kind of fully understand? I want to break it down to like where a kid could understand because this is
Okay.
very complicated, honestly. Like I really am very interested in putting quite a lot in this if this is a good opportunity. I don't know. Or even if not, I'm sure other listeners, I don't know. In the comments, did you guys have questions? Is this kind of confusing? To me, it is, to be honest. I want to really break it down a better and understand.
Okay. This is my take. So let's say you bought some gold, right? Let's say each share is some gold, or each warrant is some gold, right? This is my understanding. Um, a share is you can do so much with it. You can buy it, sell it so easy. So that I think gives intrinsic value, and it's more aligned with like the direct main line of the company's microcap and all that stuff and their progress, right? So share, easy to buy, sell it, whatever. Now the warrants, it would be like if you bought a bar of gold, but it was like they told you could only sell it in a certain village, or like it had like limitations to it because you got the time limitation, which is a barrier to some degree. Not bad, but it is a limitation of like time factor. So I like that's what I think. Like if the stock is at $2.50 and the warrants at 50 cents, that 500% difference takes into account the limitations you have, the slight thing if you have to cross the threshold of that dollar amount. So that's an aspect of the gamble of it. And
What do you mean you have to cross a dollar amount?
because it's not exercisable till a certain point. Like if you bought
Um,
that is a good question for Tom. If it's 50 cents now and you buy it, and let's say Hover stays at $9 for 50 years, what would happen to the warrants? It never crossed that $11 threshold, or is it like could you buy a 50-cent warrant today and be like, oh, let's say you bought a million 50-cent warrants and then it went up to 60 cents in a week. Could you be like, hey, I want to get rid of these warrants, and then you would get 10 cents times your your million warrants, and then you'd have $100,000 or something? Or do you have to
Yes,
wait?
you can sell the contracts whenever you want, just like an option.
Okay.
But just
oh,
like options, you have intrinsic value, right, and extrinsic value. So your extrinsic value is based on the time, right? We got a lot of time till expiry, 2029. That's great. Intrinsic value is going to be once that gets into the money, I guess you could say, right? Based on moneyness, like an option would be.
Hmm.
So you get that right now it's trading purely on speculation and time value, right? Like people are betting that within this, by 2029, that's the other way that they can expire. If it's not below 1150, after 2029, they're done. And 80% of warrants expire, just like options.
Oh
No
wow.
shit. That's like a real statistic.
Mhm.
Whoa.
Yep. So it's a tool that you can use, right? And it's not something I would recommend that anybody goes all in on it thing.
Yeah, high risk, high reward.
Yes, it is. It's leverage without margin. So if you find the right stock and you find the cheap warrants, a couple pennies. I mean, you can. There's people that probably turn $6,000 into 3 million plus with Rigetti. And that's in just like physical, like shares they can actually hold in their account, not any type of optionality or anything like
Yeah, so what was the lowest price that the warrants got to? Because I know the stock itself, we hit like a quarter, 25 cents or whatever. Didn't the warrants go down to like a fraction of a penny, like 6/10 of a penny or something?
So here's the burn on that, right? Like that's what you could sell it for. That's probably not what a lot of people bought it for. So let me go back on the chart here. You'll see the candlestick, right? That's your bid and ask, right? Basically, they're so liquid at those levels, right? You'll be buying it for 3 or 4 cents or 2 cents, and then the only buyers that'll be available will be at fractions of a penny. So it's kind of one of those things, right? Like that's a terrible big bid ask spread, right? Which happens because there's no liquidity, there's no market. But you take that gamble, you dollar cost average into it, small amount of money, right? Because the returns later on could be significantly. That's kind of what my method was, right? I started last December. They weren't that as cheap as you were saying, but certainly, yeah. I mean, when they say these things can go to zero, they will absolutely, not Hover specifically, but like warrants can absolutely go to zero. Never invest
Yeah.
anything that you're not willing to lose. You know what I mean?
Well, don't they? I think if they fully expire, they're not 100% worthless. They're still worth 1 penny, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. They'll give you 1 penny in return for your.
Yeah. So if you miss your 30-day window or whatever it is and they expire worthless, they're not really worthless, but they pretty much are.
Yeah.
That's just semantics. It's bullshit. It's like the the new CEO of SCWO. He took a $1 salary and people are saying $1. I'm like, he's working for free, basically. Like, what's the $1? Like, who cares? It's worthless.
Yeah, I mean, but basically my point of that thought though was if Hover went down or the warrant went down to 6/10 of a cent, and we saw it go to 60 cents here just the other day, that's really 100 times from the lowest low to the highest high in the last year and a half or whatever. And then you look at the stock, and the lowest it hit was 24 cents, and then the highest we've been now is 360. So we've been like 12 times. So in reality, the warrant is so much more volatile. Like there can be huge gains made on it, but at the same time, you have that time window. And the closer you get to the expiration date, the less value there is in them, because I guess they start to lose a lot of value the closer you get to that date, right, Tom?
Yeah. Yeah. So 12 to 18 months out is kind of the decision point, right? So if we're still trading at $2, $3 in 2028, right? The warrants are probably have going to bled off a lot of value. It's called theta decay, kind of like an option you're getting burned on. Just drop it around. You're like, dude, this thing needs to go. Otherwise, I'm gonna lose my money.
But is it like an option to where you only lose your money? It needs to go in the last, stretch or so. If the price is basically near your break even or strike price or whatever, I'm not too sure what it would be, but if it's basically right there, because I've seen options to where like I have an option right now on a Duro and my
Mhm.
break even is something like $12 and it's sitting at like $17. And on Robinhood, you can see it shows like a chart of like your theta decay.
Mhm.
It's AI thing. Zoom out further. Zoom out further. God damn it. Okay. So I was saying the Robinhood has like this chart thing to where you can see what it would be. And my thing expires in January. We have like 3 months. If I were to sell my option now or wait those 3 months and Adura wouldn't move, I would lose very little to nothing, like
Mhm.
maybe 2, 3, 5% of the value of the whole option. Whereas if it's actually like right at the break even at $12, then right now I would probably be gaining because we're even if it's at break even, it's not at break even because it's before the time, right?
Mhm.
But once you get to the time, it goes to zero, which is a big difference. Do you kind of follow what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense. Is the warrants the same way to where if
Yeah,
you're
right.
already
So
way
if
up on
you're,
your warrant, it doesn't matter. Fucking let it expire. Like let it expire and just you're
yeah,
not.
if we're trading at $15 in 2028, yeah, there's 17.99 or whatever. Yeah, they're not. The theta becomes, it switches from the intrinsic value of the warrant, right? How much in the money you are, that takes over and controls the majority of the price of the warrant.
Okay. So that makes sense. So the reason I asked that is because to anyone who's really bullish long term and can see that 2029 is, will be way past $3 basically. Then this is kind of a no-brainer almost. And I mean, obviously they should, do their own due diligence and be cautious and realize this can go to zero. But I know so many people are so worried about fucking losing money. Like, you win and you lose, right? Like this is the reason you're in penny stocks, right? So, one thing's for sure, we're not going to be at $3 in 3 years still. It's going to go to zero or it's going to go to freaking, I don't know, $30, right? So, like, if we're just being honest, right? I don't think it's going to zero, but, just generally speaking, it's like down or up. Like, I don't think we're hovering, no pun intended, but at $3, right? So, point is, it's like if you believe in long term, it could be a really good thing to think about versus just buying shares. Like I'm honestly considering doing that now and just stopping my $20 daily buy of Hover. Maybe I should just start buying warrants, but
Yeah, I mean, even just kind of follow, Brumder's game plan since you have full shares. I mean, it seems like he's a pretty smart investor. Go like 80% shares, 20% warrants, or, some kind of a thing where you're just kind of hedging so that when you do get diluted later, when they get called, it doesn't really affect you because you're getting free shares in essence. You know what I mean?
The real benefit, like how many times over the last 2 years have you said, I wish I bought more, wish I bought more, wish I bought, yeah,
Exactly.
I thought Robinhood was expensive at 11.50. I thought Palantir was expensive at 11.50. Right? This allows you the option to go back in time, control shares at a large amount of shares, right, at that. That's the reason I like it, right? Because hey, if Hover works out, great. I can control. I can go back in time and get that position that I couldn't afford, a year ago. Get the 100,000 shares, the 50,000 shares, 20, whatever, right? If it doesn't work out right, then I can bail out of the warrants, because 12 to 18 months, I'm like, hey, I don't know, this might not work. I can start taking profit while the warrants still have value and are inflated and limit my exposure that way. But it's still just the small amount of money I put in from the start. You know what I mean? So it's not like I have to worry about my $50,000 initial investment going back, right? You can take a few $1,000s and turn it into a huge amount of shares if you position yourself.
Wow.
So for example, like 10,000 warrants, 5 grand right now. 10,000 shares of Hover, it is 28,000, right? So you're basically getting exposure, the chance to take that as if you invested $28,000 today, Hover explodes, you get that exposure.
Hmm. Interesting.
I know with time delay and all the theta stuff, the prices always fluctuate, but just generally speaking, if we can dumb it down to like a shares versus a warrant gain or loss, is it like a, would you say it's like a 4x or a 2x or 3x or like a 10? Like what is, for like every, 10% that hover will go up, will the warrant go up 20% or 100% or
So
if there is a sort of rule of thumb?
basically, right now they're loosely priced. It's called delta, right? Your movement with the stock price. The delta is extremely low down here. As the price of hover starts to rise, delta is going to increase, and the price of the warrants are going to exponentially increase the closer and closer we get to the strike, right? They call that delta expansion. So your greatest returns in the warrants are typically going to be as hover goes from probably four to $8 range. Right? And that's where the delta shoots up. The price of the market makers are forced to reprice the warrants because a whole lot more likely that they could be in the money. That's an arbitrage opportunity, right?
Hmm.
And that's where a lot of the gains of the warrants come from initially, and then back end gains will come once you pass the strike price, right? Because now you're getting the time value of the warrants in addition to the intrinsic value of the warrant.
I kind
Right.
of get it. So like basically people kind of get like this, oh shit, this looks like it's going to go. And they kind of have like that FOMO and everybody kind of rushes into the warrants, which pushes them up. And then as you start getting closer to that date and it's kind of cooled off from the FOMO a bit,
Sure.
it's not quite as volatile with the movements. It just kind of more follows what the stock is doing is kind of what you're saying, right?
Yep. Because over 1150, it's dollar for dollar, right? That the warrants will move with the stock.
I gotcha.
So you've got in the money value, the intrinsic value right now is zero. Right? We're trading purely on extrinsic value, right? The time value, which is 50 cents. So as the stock price goes up and we get closer and closer to the money, right, the extrinsic value is going to raise the higher likelihood it gets. And you can, kind of use ChatGPT and ask it to do a Black-Scholes price modeling for Hover, right? You give it the time value and all that kind of stuff. And you can get not a price prediction. I don't want people to confuse it with that, but it's fair value, market fair value. Just like options and just like stocks, you can trade below and above fair value, depending on the interest and the hype. And volatility is good for warrants, bad for.
I have a
So,
question. I have a
yeah.
question. How do you think the hover stock price when because you know how they don't have options right now, but like if they stay above like a certain million volume daily or something like that, at some point they get options. How do you think that affects the stock price? Because I don't really know. I actually had an epiphany just a minute ago,
Yeah.
which was warrants have a formula and stock has a formula. They are parallel, but it almost seems like the stock price, when you get options, you get that formula of the warrant on there because it's got that prediction aspect of like waiting and you think you're waiting for
Yeah.
so I'm
It
just curious your thoughts on
actually,
that.
it helps both, ideally, right? There's situations where it can obviously hurt you, right? But once you actually get options approved, right, you got to trade for several months. I think it's 3 months, with over $2 million daily volume kind of stuff. It's not a quick road, and it may not be something we get until we're comfortably above, unless we start getting some significant volume on a day-to-day basis.
So to
But
Steve Lynn says he rather buy options and wait for those than
yeah,
the warrants, which is interesting. But it looks like you're gonna miss out on the warrant gains if we get
Well,
the
he's
options.
probably looking at it
We'll have
more
to
of
get
like
to
a
it.
liquidity deal because once you have options, that just means that everything's more liquid at that point.
so I actually have traded options fairly heavily the last couple of years, right? And it's completely stopped in lieu of just for warrants, right? How many times when you're trading on,
Oh,
I got cut off there.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's a lot harder to have a stop loss with options. It's a lot harder to minimize exposures, especially if you're trading them in liquid small caps, right? Because there may be no buyer for your contract, right? So they have a bad earnings. You get your IV crush, right? Those 30-cent warrants, 20-cent warrants, 10-cent warrants you bought have no buyer to buy the bid, right? So you can't get out of them. You end up having like 50, 100 contracts that you're just stuck looking at, mocking you until expiry. At least with warrants, you have a chart to look at. You can see where the buyers are. You can see where the sellers are, and you can manage your risk that way. But that's kind of why I tend to lean warrants, right? But like, it's a decision that everyone's got to make themselves. I wouldn't say recommend you buy anything that somebody on the internet told you to buy, right? Look into it yourself. And if
You know
it's your
what?
investing
That is
strategy,
the best advice I heard here
yeah,
all
dude.
day, because you know how many people keep asking me, should I buy this? Should I buy that? Is it still a good price? Is it too high? And people are telling me, oh, I bought this because of you. And someone's like, I spent 50,000 on this because I've had two people already told me they spent 50,000 on a stock
Oh my gosh.
because of me. And I'm like, holy shit, really?
Yeah,
My gosh.
that's crazy, man.
I'm
It
just
only
on
works
the
with
internet, guys. I don't
yeah. It only works with extreme ownership, right? Like you've got to own your decisions. You own your wins and you own your losses because nobody can trade for you.
Yeah, I have a question. So Hover's my longest hold I've ever had. Um,
And
and I have a question. So as an individual that holds just stocks, I'm sitting on the sideline, kind of watching the options thing manifest. What do you think someone that's just holding the stock can usually expects when their stock all of a sudden gets options? Is that like, because obviously you had to be above the multiple millions for 30 days or whatever it
yeah,
was.
the biggest thing that you can expect is volume, right? Because the market makers have to buy or sell shares to hedge the stock price based on those contracts that were sold. So I mean, that's the largest single benefit to a small cap like Hovr is that it amplifies the amount of volume that comes onto the market.
And with the volume, do we get like a little more stability and less volatility as far as like the size of the swings?
I mean, look at Tesla, right? Like, is Tesla pretty volatile? You know,
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't say it's gonna, I mean, individual stocks are gonna be volatile, right? You're gonna get massive swings up, massive swings down, right? So
But is
I
it
wouldn't say that it's
bullish?
gonna bring necessarily. Yeah, I think it's in a small cap. I think it's bullish because this entire run that we've had, the 130% in the last month or so, has been on pretty low volume. I think there's been a couple days where we cracked more than like 2 million, which you can, and that's a lot of people don't know that we're trading on NASDAQ capital markets, which is the lower tier, the NASDAQ markets.
Sorry. When you said is it bullish, it made me think. I think this helps make more sense to me in my head. Always, whenever there's options, that's when there's short sellers, right? Like when I hear
Correct.
people are like, "Oh, they're shorting the stock and this, that." When people talk about that with penny stocks, I'm like, how are you even shorting a stock? All I can do is literally buy, like, I mean, or sell, right? But that's not shorting it. Like, you're not betting it's going down. How can you even do that? So is that something that could be done with warrants, maybe, when people say shorting a stock? And then when you add options, does that amplify it? So obviously the stock could go up, but it could also easily be pushed down if some Melvin Capital or whatever decides to start shorting the heck out of it.
Yeah. The exposure is both ways for options, right? But anybody you can short, you can go to your broker, assuming they support it, activate a margin account, and any shares you physically hold, or you can start shorting today if or I'm sorry, Tuesday, whenever market's open.
Yeah, because
Shorting, you can, yeah,
Fintel has the shorts available for Hovr currently, so you can short
yeah,
them.
Yeah,
yeah.
but
You can
on
borrow
what?
shares and look at.
I guess
Usually,
I'm
it
on Robinhood.
requires.
You can't do this on Robinhood, right?
So you know how you had to opt into like level 2 or level 3 options for Robinhood?
Oh, yeah. I
It's
don't
it's similar to
remember.
that. So you need a margin account. You need to enable it and get all the things approved and sign all those disclosures and say, hey, I know I can destroy my account by doing all that. But like I could, if I wanted to take out open up a margin account with my broker, I could short my warrants, which there are people that do it. You can see there's pretty small amount of people trying to do it, but it's just so liquid, you're not going to win, right? It drops 2 cents. Well, the bid ask spread is still there. There's no way to strategize just with the way it's set up.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? You can't tell anybody that just by looking at Wall Street bets for 5 options are gonna only be bullish, right? Like people take out YOLO calls and YOLO puts.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, you're right. Well, we'll see in a couple years. We'll either be rich or on the Wall Street Bets Reddit crying about our losses.
Yeah,
Anyway,
dude.
yeah.
I started in Archer last year, right? And I think a lot of people, were exposed to Archer and Joby. And then you start thinking about like, well, man, you ever tried getting a Tesla going when it's cold outside? Oh, these things can't fly in bad weather. They can only go 50 miles, like all that kind of stuff. And then, Hover pops up and you're like, wait a minute, they got answers to all that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a better solution out there. And the fact that Robinson has been as open and transparent and he'll sit down and, do interviews with anybody that asks, right? Like it's a good company. I like what I see and I'm willing to take a
dude.
risk on it.
I love how open he is and
Yeah, yeah.
easy to talk to. Yeah. Yeah.
What company can you think of where they dropped their earnings just a day or two ago, and every single thing on it we knew already? I'll wait.
Yeah, man, for sure. And I was actually surprised, at the dilution. I was expecting to see just a tad more.
Yeah. Um, just a quick FYI to people. He doesn't ask for any of my questions or anything before my interviews. He's given me all the time. He never rushes me on time or anything, which is really awesome. And I've actually reached out to a few CEOs by now. It's not easy to get these people on. I just posted a CEO interview I had today, which was quite short because she was busy. And I wanted it to be like an hour long. I mean, there was so many things I could have got into. It was just very like a quick, short one, but I think it was really good. So you guys should check that out later. But my point is, these CEOs are busy, pretty inaccessible, and Brandon makes himself very accessible, very transparent. And I love the way he's actually running the business, like from a very entrepreneurial, the way I see it. He's not only is entrepreneurial, he is the lead engineer, kind of just like Elon Musk, right? Which that makes it like a really big thing when you're building some hardware aerospace stuff, right? Like, I mean, Elon's building rockets and electric cars. If he were to hire someone else that doesn't know engineering stuff, I mean, how is he going to do this stuff? I don't know. So it makes a big difference. Like, there's a lot of talk of like, oh, Elon never started Tesla, someone else did. Well, Tesla wouldn't have been as big as it was if it wasn't for Elon. It's the founder that's behind it all. Like, if Brandon were to be replaced with some other CEO, I would be way, way less bullish Hover, even though I like their aircraft a lot. It's the person behind it that's going to make that aircraft like fucking not fly, soar, right? Like fucking explode in the explosive growth in market cap, right? We're talking.
Can I say something? Can I say
Go
something?
ahead. Yeah.
When Mr. Brandon Robinson says we're not your normal micro cap, you can either believe him or not. You can either believe or not any CEO that says things. You could put the X5 half scale UAV in the back of a truck, and the military guys love it. Or you could put the X7 in the back of a jumbo jet and put two of them wherever you want in the middle of anywhere on Earth because you don't need any infrastructure. And these things seem very amazing and logical, but it's interesting. Human nature, people are like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Like I'll believe it when I wake up and the news at 5:51 in the morning says UAV deal Horizon Aircraft with military or Amazon or whoever, right? But I'm just curious. All that leads up to this. I don't know if you guys saw Flight Path episode 8, the one where they're so sick, right? How they're going over like they're doing the computerized controls so that bad boy stays parallel to the horizon. Huh? Epiphany, right? Horizon aircraft. You got a stretcher in there. You can't be hanging it, baby. You can't be hanging it. I'm trying to drink my juice, you see? But check this out. Flight Path Episode 8. The controls, computerized, keep it parallel to the horizon. Yeah, Faraz, the engineer guy in the video, he was like, "Yeah, we're doing this, and now we're moving forward into getting it for the UAV." And I was like, "Oh, he's talking about getting into the UAV now." And I'm like, "Okay, military guys like it. Fits in the back of a truck." Faraz is talking about we're gonna do it for the UAV now. I don't know what people need to understand here. I don't know what they need to wait for. Like, I see it. I'm curious. Do you guys see it?
I see it. The only thing I will mention, the
It's at
only
minute
thing that I'm
146
concerned,
on episode 8 Flight Path. It's at minute 146 of the 3-minute video. Faraz says, "Now we're going into
wow.
UAV."
You guys remember how I said Anthony is like a Hovr encyclopedia? Look, he remembers the minute second, not even just a 146 to the second he remembers. That's crazy. That is really crazy stuff. Um, you guys have some really genius Hovr talent in the room here. If you guys have any questions, I will get to them. I know I haven't really read the comments too much. I wanted to mention one thing that the only thing that I'd be a little bit concerned about, but it's not really a concern. I wonder what you guys would think of this. Obviously, their aircraft's great, Brandon's great, and they're the best of all the eVTOLs that I've seen and know about right now. But the only thing I could see happening is a new company in the future. Haven't heard about an entrepreneur maybe that we know or haven't known, but someone that can scale up really fast and do something, better that, it's the unknown unknowns, right? For example, Elon was working on the robots, right? And now you have Brett Adcock out of Archer. He's like, all right, forget Archer. Let me build a figure. And in 2 years, he built up to figure 3 right now. They just published, like, that thing is cleaning dishes and doing laundry. And, it's just the beginning. But I mean, in the span of like 2 or 3 years, he went from like nothing to like a $50 billion company with a working, I don't think it's even a prototype. They have like hundreds of these bots already. Maybe I'm wrong on how many, but they have like they scaled up and came from nowhere and are a big competitor to Tesla now. Point being, like, what if someone we don't know about something comes about? Someone, maybe I'm wrong. Is this going to be hard to scale up? I mean, look, Hover's been around for many years. So is Joby. So is Archer. I don't know. Could a company not build an aircraft, you think, in 1-2 years from now, and just maybe they're working on it now. We don't even know about it. But in 1 year, we'll start seeing this aircraft or something. Is that a possibility, you think? I mean, aerospace could be too slow. Maybe I'm being too optimistic for
Yeah, it
the
could get bottlenecked
hypothetical
at
competitor,
certification.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, eventually one of these is going to crash, right? I think Nicole was talking.
I think you're muted, Tom.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. There's a risk, right? Like there's going to be more than one winner, more than one loser, right? And the first time one of these crashes is going to be a real test for the space because it's going to happen at some point, you know?
To Steve's Lynn point, you're right. VTOL is not a winner takes all, actually. Very true, actually. Yeah.
Hey, Deathsmiles, did you see episode 8, Horizon Flight Path? Did you see that? It came out a couple days ago.
Yeah, of course.
What did you think about minute 146 where Faraz talks about now we're going into the UAV? What did you think about that?
Nothing new.
Okay.
I mean, we kind of already all know about that. I mean, Brandon's been talking about, how unmanned flights make sense for cargo. And then, that doing that in remote areas makes a lot of sense for them. So, yeah, I mean, I was no surprise to me at all. I mean, it's all part of the electronics and the flight programming and everything they're doing and have been doing. So, glad to see it on paper. I'm also liking that the non-dilutive military funding that they put out on paper. I know we've been talking about it a little bit, and we got a little bit of grant money, but it says that they have access to plenty of military non-dilutive funds, which I like a lot.
Beautiful.
Yeah. That is great. Honestly, non-dilutive grants is I want to see more of that. Like a
Yeah, I just
lot.
want to see larger amounts. I mean, we got 450,000, so maybe the next one we get a few million, and then maybe from there it grows.
I think the biggest thing is that we're not all electric. The fact that we're hybrid makes it a little harder to get the grants because a lot of these grants are usually for, they want to be more eco-friendly, sustainable, EV, whatever. But yeah, they probably could definitely apply for and get a lot more grants. I mean, they already did for the INSAT one, he said, right? That has like what a pool of, I don't remember, 350 million, right?
Yep.
Obviously they're not getting the whole 350 million like he said on the podcast, but whatever amount they get, that's great. I don't know what other grants they could apply for, but the podcast I just did with the other lady of Siren, she is the queen of grants. She really she is so good at getting grants. Like that is like her bread and butter. And as a CEO, I like that about her, by the way. You guys should check out that episode. But it looks like Brandon's already got some grants. He's doing the INSAT stuff. Yeah, I don't know what it really takes to get a grant, but there is a whole science to it, I'm sure, or like networking and stuff. But that is the most bullish thing I want to see because this company's pre-revenue, all these pre-revenue companies, like get some free money, like don't dilute us, that wouldn't be so nice, but it's necessary if we need. Yeah.
The one thing I wanted to mention about that, because we all know Brandon has said, yeah, it would make a great UAV. Yeah, the military guys love it. Yeah, it could fit in the back of a truck. Yeah, it would make sense to use it for that. It would be great. We've all heard him say, yeah, we built this that size so we could get the information we need mathematically for the 10x scale out for the X7, but also it has its own usefulness as well. It would be a really good product, wouldn't it? Like he's kind of said things like with a question mark at the end, or just like an opinion about like how it would be cool. But my point about that one, like I've never heard them like say it like, oh yeah, we're going into that. Obviously we know that. I just like it, because we're connecting dots. Anything that puts a little glue on one of those dots to hold it together a little bit better, that's cool. But yeah, I'm just using all this information to predict the future.
I mean, I still think it could be used for high altitude surveillance. I mean, it has that forward swept design. So the military wants it, I mean, like, and you get the 1,000-mile range out of it now with the extended the range they were talking about.
Mhm.
I think it'd be a good deal for kind of like a spy plane. Go do some recon over, here or there.
Yeah.
It would be cool, but I honestly don't know if they're gonna be doing that, at least
I
anytime
know they do a
soon.
lot more with satellites and stuff now, but still, I mean, it could become useful for some areas.
Let me get to
Yeah.
Dude,
the comments here.
Yeah.
I think some questions for Tom actually.
yeah. I saw Steve Lynn,
Yeah.
a couple.
Okay.
So, dude, what I love, man, is that like you're taking ownership of your investment strategy, right? Like you found a process you like and that works for you and that you're educated on, dude, and you've got conviction in it. There's nothing better than that. So more power to you, brother. If you like that, do it. Options aren't open right now. Options may open up. You're right. It could be anywhere from $5 to $10. Who knows?
I
But
mean,
leaps are
we
going to be a whole lot more expensive than warrants right now.
yeah, true. Lord Fuber says Joby and Bombardier Aerospace have almost the same market cap. One company has revenue and earnings. That is very funny and accurate. That is
It's
actually
crazy.
that's crazy to think about. Like, we might be in a little eVTOL bubble here. I don't know if you look, if not hover, but my goodness, it's actually crazy to think about. Joby's the price of Bombardier, and even Archer 5-6 billion or 7. What I can't think of a company, but there's a lot of good companies worth around that price. And they actually make some money. I mean, these companies are really trading like when honestly, it's a little crazy because they're trading as if the moment they get certification, they're gonna be flying these things like thousands of them the next day, making millions of dollars. Like it's gonna be such a slow transition to make millions or I don't know, billions. And could Archer really and Joby even really make billions in EBITDA like every quarter or something? That's a little bit crazy for me to think about, but that's kind of like what these are trading at. Am I wrong?
No. I think the market has its current chronic condition of some semblance of overevaluation of things. I really like small nuclear reactors, but I think it's a cool idea. But it does trip me out. Oklo went from $4 this time last year to $170 or something like that. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Crazy, crazy. Not $1 they made.
Yeah. Oh, but also like DoorDash, they're gonna be and Amazon, they're gonna be delivering packages, with little flying drones and stuff. However, we're gonna be delivering hearts and cancer medication, the isotopes, and using GoPro to take pictures from the nose or something. But yeah, there used to not be cell phones. I used to have a pager, and when I had my flip phone, that was real technologically advanced. But a decade out, it could be like Uber Eats pizza to your window.
Hey, what happens when they do that drone delivery and like a big gust of wind comes and blows it into a power line? I always just keep thinking about that, man. They're going to start a fire or something. They're going to have something in place.
I don't know. It has to be a really big gust of wind. Like I have a drone, and it's really really good in the wind. Like it's actually
Even
really
when it's got a big string and a package hanging from underneath it.
yeah, but those drones are going to be much larger. Like my drone is just for taking photos. It's just a basic DJI,
Yeah.
Like it's those are going to be much more larger and stable. They're actually, although it seems like they're very lightweight against the wind. That's why drones are very easy to, they're the first VTOLs, if you can think of, like they're just very small. It's easy to move them with wind. So maybe a lot of wind can push them, but their propellers, are can easily fight back. Basically, like that thing is strong. I mean, yeah.
Also, too, just like he talks about the bumblebees not scalable and stuff like that, there's definitely like the mathematics of, are you rural or are you in a city, right? Where's it going to? Because maybe that stuff, like if you're living on a farm or something, yeah, they could probably drop off a pizza from Amazon Pizza Palace warehouse or something like that, easy. But like if you're in the middle of Manhattan. It's like the Uber Eats robots with the wheels. Inflation goes up and a Big Mac costs $30. People are gonna be beating the shit out of that Uber Eats to get that Big Mac out of there. You know what I'm saying? So I like the scalability of the half scale Cav X5 for doing that remote drop off pickup reconnaissance mission because the military guys love it.
It's for a specific use case also, like we mentioned, like it's probably for rural only, right? In the cities, they're not going to be using those. Here in Miami here, I don't know, have you guys ever seen those they work with DoorDash and stuff. You order like Uber Eats or whatever, instead of a person delivering it to you, it's a robot, like a robot RC car. Have you ever seen that?
No, but
No?
this is San Francisco. Our
San
streets
Francisco, they
are
definitely have that. They don't have that?
No, our streets are dirty. I think
Oh.
it has to be like cleaner. You know what I'm saying? Like okay, San Francisco's roads are horrible. The streets are dirty. You got homeless everywhere. It's crazy. But like if you're in a regulated kind of predictable kind of like clean paved roads, like a campus or a
Well, it goes
large
on the sidewalk. It doesn't actually go on the street.
Yeah, but
It's like,
San Francisco's like all hill, man.
yeah,
It's like
exactly.
a whole. It's not like a flat little community. Like that robot would be struggling with the ups and downs.
Dude,
Yeah.
the way San Francisco crushes Waymos and like people just destroy those things. I can't even imagine what a swarms of drones would do every day.
Yeah.
big problems to solve.
Yeah.
Lord Fuber, give me another epiphany. This guy came with a one-hit wonder. He came in with one comment and just really made me think. I don't know, man. This Joby and Archer thing. Let's get back to the comments. Let's see. Upgrade says agree, upward and onward. Lots of ways to win. Yeah. Depends what you're in. Honestly, I think Archer and Joby, people say, there's space for everyone to win. I think one of them are going to win. I think one of them are going to die, honestly. Because
I
they're
think he's
literally
talking.
competing with
I think he's
like
talking about Steve Lynn's comment.
yeah, about Steve Lim's comment that VTOL is not a winner takes all. I agree
Or
with him in
the
that sense,
options.
but there's going to be a VTOL for every type of category. For air taxis, I don't know. I don't know if I see both Joby and Archer doing it, maybe, but they're literally both like the same aircraft. It's just who's going to be better. And it looks like Joby's is better. So like, why would anyone go with Archers, to be honest? Like, people are not going to hire Archer for medvac or for rural. Like, there's going to be other specific companies for that, whether they pick Jump Arrow, Hovr, or whatever. There's the cargo companies, the Whisk, the autonomy ones. There's all sorts of categories, but Joby and Archer are directly competing with one another. And I don't know.
Can I say something?
And they both win? Like, it's maybe like Uber Lyft, but it's got to be that one of them is going to be much bigger. Like, who do you want to be in? Back then, if you would you pick Uber or Lyft? It would be really obvious now.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead, Anthony.
Okay. Unless you're okay, you can't read people's minds, right? But you can extrapolate potentially their viewpoint and the information that they know, right? Because you could look at what's this person's potential viewpoint about things and how do they think. If you have those two pieces of information, you could potentially predict what they're going to think, which would be akin to being able to read their mind or something, right? So, anyway, I think when he says we're a 2.0 EVTOL, like if you saw, the reason I thought of this was because of D-Day, because we broke that $3.30 because when it spacked, it dropped from the 10 and then came up and hit that high of 330 and then came back down, did its thing for 10 months or whatever. And then we did break the 330, so that's positive news. But then I was thinking about D-Day, and then I was thinking about military stuff. So anyway, if during D-Day you saw, because they're 2.0, so the 1.0s went in and got murdered, and they made bad decisions or made the decisions they did, chose that hill or whatever. So it's funny because he says we're at 2.0, but that's actually quite powerful if you think about it, because not only is that good for them from the certification basis, because it's all kind of like yard sticked out a little bit more than all the question marks, a year plus ago. But also, it's just like you can navigate the space way more intelligently. So I think that's a cool little sentiment boosting viewpoint.
Love it. Do you guys have anything else you want to share? We are past an hour here. I don't know if we should wrap up soon. Maybe we go a little more, 1:30, or
We can wrap soon. I want to hear what these guys got to say, and we can wrap it up.
okay. Oh, Lord Fuber, let's see what he says. The taxis will make money, but manufacturing aircraft and dealing with the massive amounts of regulation. Good luck. Yeah, another great point. Another great point. That's what I was thinking too, always with Archer. Like, okay, the aircraft is expensive. They have to do all these vertiports and all these regulations, and then they're not even getting you to your final destination. Honestly, like, let's be real, they're literally like an airplane. They have routes. They're gonna have like airline routes, so they're not even getting you to your final destination. They're gonna be really expensive to fly in. Like, what is the freaking use case? Like, maybe it'll make some money, but it's gonna have to be so expensive, the cost per mile, because of all the building infrastructure, regulation, the vertiports. I don't even know. There's so many other things I can't even think about yet, right? Insurance, the pilot you're gonna have to pay.
Well, what was the fare
probably
model?
a little
What's the
before
fare model for them? Like $200 a head?
That's expensive. I don't know.
And if it's
Who
only going to
knows?
go 50 miles, who wants to spend $200 to go an hour away?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if it's over water, sure, you save yourself a couple hours because a boat will take longer or a ferry. But over land, I mean, who wants to spend $200 to get there in 5 or 10 minutes when you can spend $20 and get there in an hour? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's definitely a demographic specific market, right? Like, guys on Wall Street will gladly pay that $250, or I'm sure you got people in California that would love to hop the Bay Bridge. It's
But
definitely not
even,
like public transportation cost.
Yeah.
yeah, but
No, I
even
agree with
then,
you there. It's for the elite.
If one
I
of
don't know.
them did, let's say it was $200 a trip, they're probably not charging per person. You think they would charge per person, or you think it would be per trip?
No, it's a per seat thing, and if I remember right, when I modeled it, it was like $200 per seat, so an $800 fare, and at that point, you're basically renting the whole aircraft for $800 to do your 50-mile jaunt, right? I mean, that's kind of reasonable, honestly, to rent an aircraft for that amount of time.
That's
Mhm.
reasonable.
I mean, I would think so. I mean, have you ever taken a helicopter anywhere?
I
It's
have, but
it's
it's
not
like,
cheap. I mean, if you take your whole family and you're going from here to there, you're going to spend anywhere from $500 to $1,000.
yeah, but
Yeah. If you're taking your whole family on a trip and you just bought $400 airplane tickets, which is $1,600, and you live 100 miles from the airport or whatever, and then if you're like, okay, I'm just going to spend an extra 800 or 1,000 to get my family to the airport in 15 minutes instead of driving for 2 hours, like, that does add value to it. Like, you could, but then you just have to multiply that out. $800 times how many trips would it do per day? 5 trips per day, 10 trips per day. And then when are you going to hit your $10 million or $5 million for the craft? How many years would that take?
I was actually just Googling and I kind of forgot to back to where's my thing? My YouTube. Lord Fuber's point. Joby does have some revenue. Obviously nothing like Bombardier, but I forgot that they purchased Blade. Was it Joby or was it Archer that purchased Blade? Maybe I'm pretty sure Joby purchased Blade. And I was looking at Blade's prices and yeah, they're about this like $200 a seat, depending where you're going. It said, I don't know from where to where, like Manhattan to JFK, I don't know what was like 100, 200 bucks. To the Hamptons, it was like 800 bucks per seat.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking crazy, these prices. But I don't know how much Blade actually makes in revenue per year, but it looks like they are making well, Joby now has them, so they're making some money. In
I just sent you a
2024, their
screenshot, man. Do you
total
see it?
I'm about to open it. In 2024, Blade's revenue was 248 million. That's actually pretty impressive. Let's see the screenshot. What oh, a helicopter, your ticket costs typically range from 199 to over $1,000 per person.
Yeah.
Okay.
So take that into consideration, especially if you're only taking your family, on a half-hour flight from here to there, point A to point B. I mean, obviously this is a tour, but if you've ever taken a helicopter tour, it's usually, a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour. With $1,000 ticket, you're probably getting like a 2 to 2.5 hour tour. You know what I mean? So think about all that.
Now
You're
this makes
competing with.
sense, but it still doesn't make sense if Archer and Joby are going to be competing with them and being priced around the same thing. Like, what's the point of using them just to have a glorified helicopter? The whole point is to have a cheaper, better eVTOL, like than a helicopter. I mean, it's safer than a helicopter, but fine, you're gonna pay the same amount for safety. You also want to pay cheaper and efficiency. I don't know.
Yeah, and if you get it to be cheaper and more efficient, you actually be able to push the ticket prices down, which would be good.
Yeah, and fly more people. Like what right now, that's only for like the 1%, not even the 1%, like the 0.1%, if I'm being honest. Like I don't think the 1%'s even flying around in those things. It's
Dude,
the
I
0.1% only.
think what I love about all these use case, hypotheticals is that like Hover can cover all of them more. It can do the city hops, it can carry stuff, it can, it's what do you say, 25% of the cost of running a helicopter, right? So it's cheaper there, right? But like Archer and Joby are kind of pigeonholed into like these limited climate, but it's got to be the right climate and the right weather and all that kind of stuff. And then every time I hear people arguing about, oh, Joby's gonna do this, Archer's gonna do that, I'm like, dude, Hover's gonna just dominate.
Speaking about the right climate and
Dominate.
weather, do you guys know? I'm not sure, but Lord Fubar asked, does Hover have a pressurized cabin?
No, they don't.
I think no, right? Yeah. Okay, they don't, right? Yeah.
No, they don't. And it's supposed to have a 10,000 foot ceiling or whatever. So anything above that, you would need oxygen.
Mm.
I have a question too, like, because it's funny, you can build a product for an existing use case that's people need, like it's tried and true that people need it, or you can build a product and then you have to convince people that the use case is needed. And if you just look at those two mathematical things, it's like Hover is going to make them and sell and lease them to leasors and operators and military and all that kind of stuff. But it's funny because the other guys, it's almost like you would have to, convince the cities to put the vertiports there, or even convince the leasors to, okay, you want to be a leasor of our craft, then you're gonna have to get the you got to build a vertiport and all that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of funny, like if you just look at it from a fundamental business standpoint, it's nice to build a product that the use case you're fully absorbed into it automatically because it's already a going concern versus like I'm gonna build this product and then go on Shark Tank and then like tell people why they need to use it versus they're just embracing it because it already has momentum because it is being used already.
Yeah. Tom, I would like if you could answer this guy Overcast Media in the comments. He says, don't you have to pay the strike price when exercising the warrants? So if you had
Yes.
5,000 warrants, a strike price of 1150, you would have to pay 57,500 to buy those warrants.
Correct. You have two options. Well, three, technically three, right? So that's option one, right? You pay them 1150 per share. So yeah, in this case, it would be 57.5. If you don't want to do that, you can either sell the contracts. I would probably try to sell them before redemption. There's some mechanics with the redemption window that have an effect on get into. If your play is to strictly sell the contracts, do it before that 20-day window expires, right? And they call them. Digress. Anyways, or you do the cashless exercise. The cashless exercise is only available once they call the warrants, and that's where that you put up the cash value of your warrants in exchange for an equal amount of shares. So you don't have to pay them 1150 a share, right? So let's say you bought, 100,000 at, right? So your initial investment's $5,000, right? It goes all the way to $30. I used this example earlier. You'll probably get 60 to 72 or so percent. And you can go, look up the cashless exercise. The stock price goes, the better it is for a cashless exercise. So you get the cash equivalent, those warrants in shares in return. So you're not getting the full 100,000 shares, but you're getting a significant percentage of that. So 60, 70% is what, 60, 70,000 shares for an initial one-time $5,000 investment. To me, that's crazy. And that's why the risk is worth the reward. My
So,
plan for these is hold till redemption.
so like, let's say it went to 18, Tom, and it held that, but let's say we don't get to the 20-day window or the 30-day window or whatever. Basically, the warrant itself would probably be valued at the stock price minus the strike price, right? So the warrant would probably be around the $6 to $7 range at that point. And if you weren't
So
able to do the cashless exercise, and let's say you didn't have the money to buy the shares at that point, your best bet would be just sell the contracts and then use that money to buy shares, or what would you do in that situation?
yeah, that's actually an option I've played around with the math on, selling a portion of the warrants, right? Because the warrants will be worth a ton of money. So you're talking, you know, like like you were saying, like 650 or so, and in intrinsic value, right? And then you're still going to have time value left on those because they haven't called them yet. Once they call them, you get an IV crush, kind of like an IV crush in options, right? Where the price will compress. Now your cashless exercise isn't based on the price of the warrant; it's based on the actual price of the stock. That doesn't matter. You're going to hold, but if you're just going to flip the contracts, that $18 window can be a really good catalyst because you're still going to have that you're below that $18 window. You're still going to have time value added in addition to whatever how much in the money you want, dollar for dollar.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Lord Fubar says, I have a few thousand shares, will unload most after certification. I'm too old. I'm too old to fall in love with the aircraft industry.
Good.
Next comment, when warrants are called, have two options. Number one, pay $11.50 a share and receive stock. Number two, cashless exercise and receive the cash equivalents in shares. Option two is only available when warrants are called. Option three, sell contracts.
Oh,
I
now
wrote that
now
in
I
there for
know.
him.
Now I know what my question was. So let's say
Oh,
it
you wrote.
was at the $6 price for the warrant or whatever. And then we did let's say we did get into actually having to call them. At that point, you like you said, you have to pay the 11.50 for the share, but the warrant value is really when it was issued was 50 cents, right? So wouldn't it be at that point you would just get $6 off the price of the share? So let's say now if you wanted to buy the full share, it would only cost you $5. But then if you did the cashless exercise, at that point you would get maybe 50% of your shares for free, I guess, because you
Yeah.
don't
So
have to put the money out of pocket. Am I getting that right?
so I can put up a whole like table of values that you'd get cashless for. But doing an exercise before they call redemption is not something I would personally do. It's not worth it to me to pay because you can only pay for them, right? Like, so it's not worth it to me to pay 11.50 a share and then have like a $3 or $4 arbitrage. You can do it if you
Oh,
want, but you got to have that capital up front ready to go to do it.
I got
That's
you. I
kind
got
of,
you.
yeah, what you were talking about before was, let's say you're like, oh crap, like, the stock price at $25. Well, then you can start considering selling some of your warrants to fund an exercise. But you've got like multiple taxable events going on there. I don't know if that'd be worth it.
Yeah, that does make sense. Okay. I got you.
The tax would be a long-term gain, right?
Yeah, well, Tom's the big tax concern guy. So I'm always thinking, how can I get the most money? Should I just flip
Yeah.
it right away? And then Tom's always like, hey man, think about your taxes. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah.
Well,
Do
yeah,
you
I don't,
guys
I don't
have
have all the
a
write-offs. Yeah, I don't have a business, like you do, man. You got that experience.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
kind of have a little bit of leeway because with the business, I can write off losses and some of my gain kind of get buried and stuff like that. And that's just kind of the way it
yeah.
runs for me.
true, but only losses? I had a fucking fire year, no losses. Oh man.
Yeah, yeah.
I have the
It's
biggest, this is gonna be my biggest tax year ever, like by so far. It's gonna be crazy. I'm really worried of next year, but I'm doing
we're
all
not
right.
even done yet.
I know.
Well,
I
I
know.
mean, I've had a few years with my business where it's been, a couple $1,000,000. I mean, I'm not like crazy, but when you have a couple $100,000 in investments and then you're doing 200 million on the books for the year, it's really there's really not much there as far as taxes go.
Yeah.
Um,
So basically, if let's say you did this with 100,000 warrants, right? You're talking if the stock price goes to $30, potentially millions of dollars. That's like a consideration where you got to start making, you know, talk to tax professionals and people that give advice for that kind of stuff. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it
Getting
is,
yourself
isn't
there
it?
is half the bottom. Yeah.
but you can only do like some tax strategies if it's on warrants, not regular shares, I'm guessing.
So basically, you can be eligible for long term and short term in the warrants, just like stock. And if you
Mhm.
just sell the contracts, same rules apply. It's the cashless where that really benefits you because you're kind of resetting the taxable event. Is what I have found in my research. Right, you're
Wow.
back in short term games because you're sitting on however many shares, hopefully a lot, but you don't owe any tax based on that because the company forced you to do it.
Wow. That's
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's kind of what makes me so bullish on these, right? Is because like you get the chance to now you're in a like significant share position long term. You don't have to worry about anything other than just holding the shares. Right? And there's not an immediate taxable event due at the end of the year unless you start
you
selling some
wait,
of those shares.
you wait for them to sell for you basically for it to expire.
You wait for them to call the warrants, right? So that the stock goes above $18 and it stays there for 20 out of 30 days. They file an S1 on the SEC page and they issue public statements, say, hey, we're calling the warrants. You have 30 days to do something with these, right? Sell them, exercise them, cashless, whatever. It can take 3 to 5 days. It can take, as long as a week or two sometime, depending on your broker, for this transaction to go through. So it's something you got to do like right away.
Oh, and what if you don't pay attention and you miss your 20, 30-day period?
Then you get 1 penny per warrant.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh.
dude. And you would
Oh,
be
shit.
surprised.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
dude. The companies that call
Realize
their
that.
warrants, you can go back in their 10Ks and look at how many expire worthless, right? It's like,
That is
losing a
so
bit.
crazy.
Wow.
It's like losing a Bitcoin wallet, right? Like you're losing your seed
Whoa.
phrase or something, right? Like you figure out like one day you had a couple $1 million and the next day you had zero.
I'm not touching that already. I that's fucking crazy.
So note to self: if you get warrants, stay out of jail.
Well, yeah, and stay on top of it and don't buy them if you're going to be
Yeah.
going in the hospital for something.
Oh no. Note to self: if you get warrants, fucking set a fucking calendar on your iPhone, on your fucking computer. Tell your fucking mom to set a calendar on her phone. Tell everyone you know to fucking remind you on that period.
Well, you could also set it up with your broker, ahead of time, like Tom was saying. Just have a talk with him, discuss it. Be like, hey, when it comes up and these things are ready to go, I want you to do a cashless or whatever, and just have it pre-set up in case you are busy
I
or
wouldn't
don't get
trust
around
them.
to it.
What if they forget?
Dude, the way, like how neurotic all of us are with following the price. I mean, I don't know how many times like we're like, oh, it dropped 5 cents. Like, oh, look at this trend line, right? Like when it goes to $18, like, dude, we won't sleep for the next 20 days.
Oh, that's what
Like
I didn't even
I'll be so
process too.
amped. Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, oh wait, you put a date, expiry, all that. I'm like, you have to set a calendar. No, you can't even set a calendar because you have to watch the price hit the
Well, no,
strike.
you can set alerts on TradingView or your broker. I mean, broker sets price.
Oh,
It's not a huge deal.
like alerting
And
you that it hit the
yeah.
price. Yeah.
And just because it crosses $18 doesn't mean it's going to stay there for 20 days, right?
You know how
Like,
many notifications of Robinhood I get and we all get of everything? I'm gonna totally I can miss that like that. Oh my God. I don't know. I'd
dude,
be so concerned. That sounds
I
honestly
got
borderline like unethical. Like, why isn't the SEC doing something about that? That sounds like really stupid. Why?
so the whole reason they put the cap on them in the first place is to prevent what's called warrant overhang, right? Because there's a mechanic there. It's not too bad with Hover because they've only got 12 million, but there's companies out there with 30, 40 million. That's a significant amount of dilution hitting the market all at once. Right? So Archer, for example, you'll notice Archer will always get above 1150 and then dump back down. Like that's pretty indicative of warrant overhang because the whole market knows, dude, as soon as this stock runs, all these warrants are going to start hitting, and it's investor dilution fears basically.
Wow.
This is making a lot more sense.
Yeah, I like that
Beginning-
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a studied phenomenon called warrant overhang, and anytime you see like a SPAC with warrants out there just like stuttering around the 1150 price, it can be a real thing.
I gotta clip that. That was such a funny moment. All three of us, like at the same moment.
The same
all,
epiphany.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I've been in a stock before where it would like hit 2 and come down, and people were like talking about the warrants got to get exercised, so it's not going to break that. And I kind of understood what was going on, but now I fully understand what was happening now. I do have a question that kind of it goes off of that. So when a company calls the warrants in and says, "Hey, it's time to pay up," is that usually taken by the market as a bullish sign, or is it usually taken as a bearish sign? Like, oh, they're calling warrants, we're going to drop, or is it we're calling warrants because they know they're going to keep going up? What do you think is the usual consensus?
Usually the amount of like when the stock gets up that high, the amount of warrants hitting the market is a drop in the bucket compared to the type of dilution going on. So the day that Joby calls its warrant, which went from like $1 to 9, 6 months, the stock doubles, right? 2.5x, and the warrants go up 9. That's kind of that leveraged effect you see. Like
18 ghosts.
Joby, Joby dropped what 500 million shares on the market the other day in an offering, right? And tanked the
Oh, yeah.
price, right? Like who cares about 30 million shares when you're at 20 billion market cap? Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's a problem that gets less amplified the larger the market cap is, if that
And
makes sense.
oh yeah, that actually does. That actually, oh, that does a lot. If it's a lot of warrants, then it would be more fearful. But they only got, like you said, 12 million warrants, so it's like whatever. If they did it tomorrow, our float would be what, 51 million or something. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's and I would anticipate, he'll stick to 10-20% dilution a year. It's responsible, it gives them enough cash, lets the stock price go up.
And they
Yeah.
don't even need the cash
So
right now, honestly. So we're pretty chilling.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the
Let me
best
get
thing
to
I've
some of
ever
the
heard.
comments here.
Yeah.
Backed up from Lord Fuber says, my thesis is that the wealthy will never have to risk their life going to street level, eVTOL straight to your private plane or yacht. Yeah, they're not going to be going on the streets, but there's still the Joby and Archer are not taking you straight to your plane and yacht. You're still not going the last mile. It's kind of annoying. I don't know. You're gonna need a thing like Hover or I don't know, some other kind of aircraft to really land on a yacht.
Yeah, unless you have charging infrastructure on the yacht. And then the Archer, I don't think can even land on the yacht because it would have to have the H1 to H3 pad compatibility.
Good points. So yeah, probably not gonna happen. Steve Lynn says, would you pick GM or Ford? Why? I'm very confused. Neither. I would pick Tesla.
If
Unless
he's
you're
talking,
about a Hover partnership, then either are fine. But I would probably rather GM partner with Hover than Ford.
maybe he's asking us advice on what kind of car he should buy. If that's the
Oh,
case, go with the Ford because the taxi cab company had Priuses and Fords, and the Fords would have like 300, 400,000 miles on them, and the hybrid battery would still work like a charm. But the Toyota Prius hybrid battery dies at like 200,000 miles, and then it becomes a gas car. Most people don't know that. If your hybrid battery dies, you're basically a gas car. You can still drive around.
I didn't know that.
Ford. The Ford C-Max. The Ford C-Max, or if you can get a Ford Escape. Ford Escapes are dope.
There you go. Take your big financial life decisions based off people on the internet, like we said last time. 18 Ghosts, let me skip here real quick. What's up? 18 Ghosts is my friend. Chillax with the spamming. He is my friend, so I got him into SCWO early. And he is definitely happy about that. As you can see, he's been spamming that. Back up a little. Okay, after Steven, Lord Fuber says Airbus is using the Amprius. What is that? Amprius battery for the HAPS program. I hope that Hover will use their battery too. It is the best battery at 450 gigabytes watts. I don't know anything about that. All I do know is that batteries are a big scam of an industry. And anytime you hear some big revolution in battery, it's probably not real. If the best batteries are probably going to be going to fucking Tesla and like great companies, right? Like, I forgot what the best battery is actually right now, but the actual best batteries that are actually commercially used, all these little innovative startups, they're all kind of like BS and a little scammy. So I don't know anything about Amprius. Maybe it's good. 450 doesn't sound like a crazy like stretch. So maybe that is pretty realistic. I don't know too much, honestly.
Yeah, aircraft batteries have to go through their own kind of certification deal too. They're supposed to be able to handle G-forces and be mounted in any which direction, and they can't be liquid, and there's like a whole bunch of BS.
Yeah. Also, Hover is doing hybrid. They're not just batteries. So, that's the main unique thing. Like if their battery isn't, the best, maybe they have the second, third, fourth best battery. Who cares? Like they're not all about the battery. That's just like a supplement to the hybrid approach. The battery is really just more for like it's, you know, with a Tesla, you accelerate quick. It's just that for hover, it's just going to be that quick vertical lift that needs a lot of quick energy, and it takes time for, you know, like a gas car to start accelerating, right? So we're just using it for the you know, like he says, just the first and the last, I don't know, like it's only going to be 2% of the flight, right? The first percent, the last percent, 98% you're in transition. So yeah, battery is a little less important to be using the top of the line batteries. It's probably going to be more expensive too. I'd rather be seeing top of the line like propellers and some, you know, efficient motors and stuff that will actually help this thing just be more efficient and fly better and everything, right? All across. So
Hey, so real quick, I got somewhere I gotta be at 1 o'clock.
yeah, let's wrap it
And
up. Oh, it's past 3:30. Yeah. Okay.
but I don't want to be that guy. You guys can keep going. Our
No,
usual
no.
lives are like 2.5 hours. You guys can go 5 hours if you want.
No, I'm good
No,
with the
we're good
hour
here.
myself, but I don't mind going a little longer. But yeah, I got to get going too, honestly.
No, I think we'll cut it. We reached pretty much all the comments, and we've talked about the warrants. We've all had our epiphanies. We've all learned a lot. I think this whole thing was about the warrants. So I think right now getting to the comments is just gonna distract us. So thank you guys for your time. Thank you everyone who's tuned in and who will be watching later, maybe. As always, until next time. Wait, let me get this ready. There we go. As always, till next time, guys. Stay thinking, question everything.